Last week on Antinvasion, I unboxed a package from Oz Ants. I showed you guys the new nest designs as well as the new outworlds that they released. Today, on this week's episode, I'll be reconstructing the landscape of the Desert of Down Under, which is home to the colony of meat ants. I plan on adding some more sand as well as some rocks and pebbles. It should be really exciting, so let's get started. So, the last time we checked up on this colony was just 2 weeks ago. The colony wasn't doing too well, and I even provided them with a new living space, just in case they needed it. Since then, I've realised that the colony is inactive, most likely due to it being winter. This is because I've seen many workers venture into the test tubes and not giving any notice to it whatsoever. So if they did require a different home, they would have moved in by now. It's also started getting warmer here in Australia, and the colony has definitely started becoming more active and energetic within the last couple of days. But that's the thing, if I want any chance of actually getting in there and moving stuff around, I've got to do it now while the colony is young. Just take a look at how much larvae there is, just ready to pupate, man. Alrighty, so if you'd like to do something similar to what I'm doing here with the Desert of Down Under, I'll be showing the materials and tools that I'm using. Okay, so I bought 16 kilos of scoria stone from Bunnings, which was about $10. I've left the link to this stuff in the description below if you're interested. I also got 10 kilos of red reptile sand, which isn't cheap by the way. This bag was about $35. But to be fair, it is pretty nice sand. The brand is just Reptile One and I got it from my local pet shop. I'll also be adding in some rocks that I simply found in a park. These look pretty nice and should go well in the tank. I also then of course have the driftwood, which is already in the setup. The first step of this build is to prepare the scoria rocks. First of all, I want to show you how good these rocks are going to look in the Desert of Down Under. I've already added some to a small setup that houses a small colony of Orchitels sp. They seem really natural and look just like something you'd find in the desert. Although these rocks look really nice, there is one drawback. In order for the rocks to get their lovely red coloration, the company has used some sort of red clay to cover the outside of the rocks. This makes them fairly moist already. These rocks look really nice, but I feel as if more of the rock itself needs to be shown. So in order to do this, I'll need to clean them. So one afternoon after school, I got to work washing about 8 to 10 kilos of rocks. I used some outdoor camping chairs to let the rocks drain and dry in the sun. I then left them overnight and throughout the next day. When I came back from school, the rocks were really dry, which will be perfect for the build, as it won't encourage the ants to nest amongst the moist rocks and sand. But before we can start on the build itself, I think that the Desert of Down Under deserves a clean. first thing I did was block the entrance to the nest that the colony was living in to make sure no ants were running about while I was trying to clean up. Then I took the nest out of the tank and set it on my desk so it would be easier to clean up. I pulled out my trusty tweezers and got to work removing all the exoskeletons and dead workers from the sand. After a while, the desert of Down Under looked like new. Alrighty, I think it's pretty much time to start adding to the landscape of this bad boy. So, the first step I'm going to do is take out all the existing driftwood and rocks, which will make it easier to add rocks and sand. Now that we have a blank canvas to work with, it's time to add some more sand. Once I finished smoothing out the sand, I then brought over the bag of scoria stone and dumped the whole thing in the tank. I was sort of forming the landscape as I went, but I eventually sat on the idea of having most of the scoria stone and sand at the back, forming a hill and then a lower region below where the nest will go. After quite a while of forming the shape of the hill, I added in the first rock. Followed by some more. And then finally the largest piece of driftwood. And there we have it, the desert of Down Under is complete. I put the nest back in and watched as the first worker discovered her new surroundings. I then offered them a cricket as they haven't consumed protein in the last couple of days now. After the first couple of workers discovered the food, many more came pouring out of the nest. Alrighty guys, I think that pretty much sums up the video. Tell me below if you'd do something similar to the desert of Down Under, and what species you'd make a setup for. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to upload a video next week. Here's the little hint on why not. Anyway, as I always say, ant invasion out.